the strength of my own hands. You're the mountain mover, and only you can. I won't build my life on sinking sand. You're my hope forever, the rock where I stand. I won't win this battle with the strength of my own hands. You're the mountain mover, and only you can. I won't build my life on sinking sand. You're my hope forever, the rock where I stand. The rock where I I'm confident your faithfulness will see me through. My soul can rest, my righteousness is found in you. With every moment left and every borrowed breath, let this be true. And all my heart, for all my life, belongs to you. For all my heart, for all my life, belongs to you.
Hi guys, as always, it has been so great worshiping with you today. But we are continuing in our series, Welcome Home, and as you can see, I am at a door. This is my front door to my apartment, and I'm not outside because I do live in an apartment complex, and it's cold outside. So one, I'd be a little chilly, and two, my neighbors would probably think I was crazy standing outside talking to myself in this moment. So we're gonna stand inside, but we are continuing in our series, Welcome Home, like I said. And if I'm being honest, it's been a little hard to continue in this series. A lot of you guys are probably experiencing what I'm experiencing, where I'm getting a little stir crazy. I am done being home. Guys, last night I had a dream. I kid you not. I had a dream that I went on vacation. Like, I'm dreaming about getting on a plane and going somewhere. I don't even know where I was going. I just knew it was going to be someplace warm, maybe with a beach where I could just sit in the sand, dig my toes in, read a good book. But I literally had a dream about going on vacation. A lot of us are so sick and tired of being home that saying welcome home is a little tough to deal with. And a lot of us are like this, where we've seen the inside of our front door and not the outside in so long that we're like, why are we talking about a front door? Why? I just want to get out the front door, like open it for goodness sake. But we are talking about home, and I hope that the way that we're talking about it today still encourages you, still gives you a little glimpse into our relationship with God and how we can still experience welcome home during these times of kind of cabin fever. But when you enter your house, when you enter your home and you experience home has a lot of things. You guys might think of your couch, your bedroom, watching Netflix. You might think of your comfy clothes. You might think of having your favorite snacks. But guys, home has a lot of different aspects to it. First off, when you walk into your house, that is your home. That is your place of rest, of peace. A lot of you guys might experience that. Some of you guys might be like, my house is crazy. But all of us can probably say that when you go to your home, you have places to put your stuff, right? Because even though I was dreaming about going on vacation, the one nice thing about being home versus vacation is I don't have to live out of a bag. I don't have to live out of a suitcase, bringing my stuff, bringing my sunscreen, bringing my clothes for that time period and being limited to those resources. When I'm home, I have all of my clothing. I have all my different shoes. I have all the different kinds of sunscreen, all the different, everything. All of my snacks are on hand. When we're home, we have places for our stuff. And so when we're home, we don't necessarily have those bags that we carry around our stuff in. When we come home, we kind of leave that at the door and things get put back where they belong. But there's some baggage that we can experience with homecoming. Because homecoming can fall on a spectrum of like resistance and being super, super excited to go home. And so we're going to talk about a couple different stories that deal with baggage and homecoming. But first I want to tell you a funny little story. A lot of you guys have heard me tell the story about my brother getting revenge on me from a previous prank on the Beast. And so he got me on the Beast, which was my favorite ride, told me that you could see the Beast through a tunnel. I looked, my head slammed into the headrest that no longer exists, probably because of this incident. And he lived to tell the tale and was just so excited that he got me back for this prank that I pulled on him. But a lot of you guys don't know what that prank was that brought about that retaliation on the roller coaster at Kings Island. And so what happened was, do any of you guys remember Nintendo DS's? Like, they opened up, they had 2 screens, dual screen. But I was young enough that I remember those coming out. I remember getting my first Game Boy Color. And so my brothers, 2 of my brothers got these Nintendo DS's. I didn't get one because I wasn't super, super into it, but they got them. Logan and Malone both had one. And so they brought them with them when we were going to Florida to visit my grandparents this one spring break. And my brother Logan was sitting in front of me on the plane. And I had this genius idea to borrow Malone's DS and play a prank on Logan. Because Nintendo DS's, if you guys remember, they had a chat option to where you could like talk, essentially like Facebook Messenger, AIM, whatever, between 2 controllers, 2 of these Nintendo DS's. And so I had this genius idea of telling my brother I was going to be playing a game and then change Malone's username to something else and chat with my brother, making him think I was someone else. And then just, I don't know, go from there. So I told Logan my plan, not to change everything, but told him I was going to play this game. He should talk to somebody on the plane to see if there's anybody on. And of course there was. He found this username that I'd made up, and I forget what it was, but it had something in it that made him think I was a guy. And so he starts talking to this kid. That is me. And so he starts talking, and they're just saying, you know, goofy little things. And my brother starts to get a little bit more bold because he's thinking, I don't know this kid. This kid isn't going to find me. There's no way he's going to know who I am. So he starts saying something like snarky. And then I come back with, I know all about you, Logan. And in front of me in that seat, all of a sudden I hear like, it is like this like old school movie gasp, just like, and I'm trying my absolute hardest not to like lose my mind laughing. But I hear this gasp, and all of a sudden my brother turns around and his face is white, guys, like white. And he goes, Bailey, he knows my name. And I'm dying. So I'm egging him on, but I'm like, oh my gosh, Logan, that's so crazy. How does he know your name? Talk to him. Ask him how he knows all this stuff about you. So then I up the ante and I start saying more stuff. I start saying, you know, more details about him, what he did in school the last week. And then I say, he's on a plane to Florida, and I give his exact seat number. So my brother is full on panicking at this point. And he says in the chat so fervently, he goes, how do you know all this stuff about me? In all caps. And I respond something like, well, I'd be a pretty bad sister if I didn't know all about this. Like, if I didn't know all about you. And my brother turns around again, but this time the brightest like shade of red, just like so upset. And he just turns around. I hear the DS slap shut, and he is just so mad, doesn't talk to me the rest of the plane. And I got off that plane laughing so hard. And you guys know he got revenge on me, so it's fine. But I was so proud because that was the best prank I'd ever pulled. And so I love telling that story because 1, it's just funny. And 2, I just love telling stories. I love hearing stories that make me laugh. I love hearing about pranks because I stink at them. That's the only good one I've ever done. And so I just love stories. And I love that Jesus loves stories. You guys have heard about his parables. We've talked a lot about them. We've done different series on them. And if you guys have heard me talk a little bit, you probably know that I love the parable of the prodigal son. You guys have heard this over and over again. You know what I mean? Like we've sang reckless love. This is something that is very prominent in our culture right now, this idea of reckless love and how it's seen through this story. But if you look in Luke chapter 15, 11 through 32, it tells this story. It tells this story about a son who recklessly asks his father for all of his stuff. So I want to read through this and just go through this story a little bit real quick today. It starts, to illustrate this point further, Jesus told them this story. A man had 2 sons. The younger son told his father, "I want my share of your estate now before you die." So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, his son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land where he wasted all of his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him. But no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, "At home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and here I am, dying of hunger. I will go home to my father and say, 'Father, I have sinned against both you and heaven, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son. Please take me on as a hired servant.'" So he returned home to his father, and while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son." But his father said to the servants, "Quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet. Kill the calf that we have been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine was dead and now is returned to life. He was lost, but now is found." So the party began. And it goes on, and we know that the older brother is very upset and angry, but his father's like, he's home. He was dead and he was alive, and now he's alive. Like, he was lost and now he's found. It's this celebration of life. And the second story I want to talk about today is in Matthew 9:9. And I love this because this is just one verse, but it says so much. This is one of my absolute favorite verses in the Bible. And it says this: "As Jesus went on from there, excuse me, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at a tax collector's booth. 'Follow me,' he told him. And Matthew got up and followed him." Now, these 3 stories, the story about my brother included, all tie together. And that may seem a little confusing, but I promise that they do. Because see, we get invited to come home. When we get invited to come home, it can be this scary moment. Like, think about when you go to someone's front door and you're getting ready to knock. Like, the minute you knock, that control kind of goes away because you know they're going to answer the door, right? You're not going to have time after you knock to run to your car and drive away and them not see you. It's this moment of knocking and entering in, of not knowing totally what's ahead of you, what's on the other side of that door. And when we enter into this relationship with God, when we're invited home to participate in that relationship with him, it's this scary moment of letting go of control, letting go of things. And that includes baggage sometimes. That includes these moments like the prodigal son. I mean, he had baggage, guys. That one's pretty clear to see, right? He made decisions that led to other decisions that were mistakes. He had this baggage, and he thought that his baggage, his mistakes, his mishaps were so heavy and loud that he literally practiced an apology, going home and asking his father to take him on as a servant. He thought that he had messed up so bad that there was no way that he was ever going to be able to experience home again fully because of his mistakes. He thought they don't fit in the shape of home anymore, but maybe they'll fit in the servants' quarters. Maybe this is as good as my life is going to be able to get now that I've made these mistakes. I've made too many to go home now, but maybe I can be a servant. And that might make sense to you. You're like, okay, Bailey, I'm following. But how does Matthew tie into this? Well, Matthew was surrounded by baggage too. He was surrounded by different kinds of suitcases, different kinds of baggage, and it was kind of his own making again. But his bags were bags of money. His bags were that of success, of wealth, of accomplishments. A lot of times when we think of baggage, we think of shame, we think of guilt, we think of mistakes. We think of these things that are heavy on our hearts. But when we think about these things like wealth, accomplishment, success, these things that are, not bad in and of themselves, they can be good things that we strive for in life. But when we seek to fill space within us with those things, when we seek to make those the focus, we just fill ourselves with these hollow idols and just weigh ourselves down. That adds on baggage, that adds on weight, because that doesn't fulfill you. That doesn't fill you. It's just baggage. And so when he looks at these things, he's surrounded by these hollow idols, by these bags of money. And what I love, though, is that I love looking back into the backstory of Bible verses. And some theologians with this particular verse, with Matthew, they think that he is the same person as Levi, which is mentioned in a couple other gospels. And they think that by him being Levi and changing his name to Matthew, he's turned his back on a calling. They think that he might have turned his back on Levitical priesthood, a calling that he had to go into ministry. And by turning his back on that, he directed his focus, his worth, his fulfillment on money, on financial status, on building up these bags of money around him, and therefore building up this baggage. But either way, even if that's not the case, even if he's just Matthew, he finds himself surrounded by bags of money and seeking to experience home by creating it for himself. But the minute that Jesus walks by and says, "Follow me," and invites him home to experience home in a very true and real way, he leaves. And he doesn't leave and take a bag of money. He doesn't leave and take all of it. He literally leaves that baggage. Just like we leave our baggage at the door when we enter into our homes, we leave our baggage at the door when we enter into that relationship with Jesus. We don't carry that around with us anymore. We don't carry that into that relationship with him. We leave it. And now some of you may be thinking, okay, Bailey, that makes sense. How in the world is your brother tied into this? Well, my brother, when he thought that someone saw him, like really saw him in that moment, he panicked. He full on panicked. He is so smart. My brother graduated high school with like a 4.2, which I didn't even think was possible. He went to college and got all these different awards and is now in med school. He's smart. But in that moment, he wasn't thinking normally. He wasn't using his brain. He couldn't even do the simple math of Nintendo DS plus ornery sister equals like rando stranger on Nintendo DS. He couldn't figure out that math because he was panicking. And when we panic, we don't think straight. We don't think clearly. When we're focused on our baggage, on our mistakes, our mishaps, our downfalls, or when we're focused on our successes, when we think, I'm doing great because I have this, I got this in the bag, I'm good, I had this opportunity. When we're focused on the wrong things, we're not thinking straight. We think that we can't experience home because we've made too many mistakes, or everything we have is because of what we've done and we've got it good. Why would we mess it up by going somewhere else? In these stories in the Bible, the prodigal son holds on to baggage that is heavy because he thinks his past negates his future. And Matthew holds on to things that he thinks that he's created for his future. He thinks he's made his decision. His path is set. He's already laid each brick that leads to his future, so how can he change it now? When we're focused on those two things, those two drastics on the spectrum of homecoming, of mistakes, of baggage, when we're focused on these, we can't do the simple math of Jesus plus our mistakes plus what we think we've created for ourselves does not negate us from his love, from his grace, from his mercy. Those things can drop out of the equation easily. Because there's a door that he's inviting us to walk through, to knock on, because he's waiting on the other side. Just like right now, people outside don't know I'm standing here talking. But the minute someone knocks on that door, I am here to open it. That's just like Jesus. When he says, welcome home, he's here waiting for us to just knock. That scary moment of being ready to let go, being ready to let go of that baggage and enter in and experience all the rest that that home has to offer. That's that moment. And guys, we're in the midst of quarantine. You guys have been home for a really long time and you're probably sick of this view. But you may still be holding on to baggage, even being in your home. So I just want to encourage you, think about those things. Think about things that you may be holding on to. Whether it's like the prodigal son where it's past mistakes, things that you think your decisions have kept you from, that now no longer allow you to fully experience home, but you think all you can get is the servants' quarters. Maybe you're like Matthew, where on the outside, everybody probably thinks you're doing great. You've accomplished all of these things. You have bags of money. You have success, accomplishments. People might think you're doing well, but on the inside, you're still struggling to create that sense of home. Guys, I really encourage you guys to open up about this. This time of quarantine is hard. And especially as we know that we're going into this a little bit longer, it's just down hard. Like it weighs heavy on you. That can be your baggage. But don't let that keep you from talking about these things, from experiencing home fully. So I want to encourage you, open that door, just knock, dive in a little deeper, but also talk to people around you so that they can help support you, help you let go of those things, and help you enter into that relationship or enter in further to that relationship that you have with God. But I just want to pray for you guys before we go. God, thank you again so much for this time that we've had together. Thank you for this reminder. I needed this week. Just this reminder that you call us home. No matter what we think we've done, whether it's good or bad, whatever we think, we no longer deserve it because of our mistakes, or we've already created our future and there's no changing it now. God, I thank you that you laugh at that a little bit and you say that's not true at all. God, I thank you for the opportunity to knock on that door, and I thank you for answering it every single time. God, I pray for these students. I pray for these leaders. I pray that you would just be with them, that you would make yourself clear to them, just very present in a new way. God, I pray that you would be with us throughout the rest of this quarantine, but just be with us during small groups. Help us to open up a little bit more about things that we're holding on to, things that we need to let go so that we can be free even when we leave our front door and we go out into the world to share with other people who you are and how we've experienced home in a totally different way during this quarantine. But God, we love you and we praise your name. Amen. Guys, thanks so much for tracking with us during this time. I hope that this has encouraged you a little bit. I hope that you've been able to let go of some things today. But you guys are so loved. I hope you guys remember our mission statement that Jesus is the focus, community is our mission, and you are loved. And those three things are not any less true because we're sheltered at home. So I just pray that you know that you are loved, that you connect in your small groups, and hope to see you at our game night tomorrow night, Thursday, on Zoom. All of the info will be in our Instagram. So if you go to the Naz Youth High, Naz Youth Mid Instagram, the link will be in the bio there, and we hope to see you for a really great time. But hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you later. Bye.